His name is Edward Mann. He's 32 years old and lives in Langley. For the past couple of years, he's shared a condo with his roommate Stephen Brack. Since he left his group home, he's become confident, happy, and has matured. He's exercising his independence, is figuring out what he likes and who he likes to be with, and has created a home for himself.
Sounds like I like brown rice.
It sounds like it, doesn't it?
Edward had lived in a group home for 12 years, and we just felt that it was the time for him to move on. I think he'd outgrown his two housemates. And I had talked to other people, and I had been involved in different organizations to hear about shared family living or whatever form of name you want to call it. And the idea of, I knew he would always have to live with a supported staff person. So we just started the process of getting Edward out of the group home.
So Sue approached the Langley Association for Community Living, and together they spread the word that she was looking for a roommate for Edward. As fate would have it, it didn't take long to get the ball rolling. Within a matter of weeks, Sue met Stephen, an experienced caregiver who in turn was quite interested in meeting Edward. It didn't take long for Stephen to figure out it was a good fit for both of them.
I mean, he's a great guy. You could tell that he was raised right anyway, and he didn't have, he had a great upbringing because he's so well-mannered. He's curious and fun to be with, and he's a great guy.
Stephen invited Edward to share his two-bedroom condo. Edward pays rent, as anyone else would, and Stephen receives a fee for caring for Edward at night and on weekends. On weekdays, Edward has an additional caregiver who provides day support. Flexibility is the key to Edward's success, as his moods and behavior vary day to day. He responds best to a flexible schedule, which is less stressful on him.
There's no time clock, and there's no shift change. There's no, breakfast at 8, lunch at noon, dinner at 5. We have a schedule, but it's up to Edward. That's like when he gets up in the morning, that's when we start our day.
We're low at juice today. We don't have any juice here, but I like cranberry juice.
In a roommate option, the consistency and continuity of the situation benefits everyone.
I think the key thing is the consistency, because you've only got one person that you're dealing with, not a whole bunch of different staff people who, some of them were on casual, some were there part-time, and we didn't really know from one day to the next who was the staff person on, and we always know the consistency was, now we always know it's Stephen, and if we have any concerns or if we want him to check out something, we know who to contact, just one person, so it makes life a lot simpler.
If you're sorry about that, we'll have brown rice for supper.
We've got a lot of control in this situation. We have quite a bit of say on what we like to see Edward do as far as extra activity and such, and we have a very good rapport with Stephen, and it's unlike a group home where we may have a good rapport with one staff person. There's so many staff people involved that there's no continuity.
A lot easier for Edward too, because he knows when he comes home at the end of the day that it's going to be Stephen that's here. So, and on the weekends it's always going to be Stephen as well, and it's not going to be a revolving door of staff.
The stability that a roommate option affords allows Edward and Stephen to develop a close relationship. As Stephen learns more about Edward, he's become aware of some subtle nuances that are cues to his behavior.
Just listening and talking with Edward, when, if he requests something of you, you can kind of hear it in his voice, if it's a request or it's a demand kind of thing. So, there are times when I can say, okay, help yourself in the fridge. or help yourself, Edward. You can do that yourself, whatever. And there are times when I will say, I'll get you some juice, no problem. Do you know what I mean? And that's just, it's been a year and a half, and it probably took me, you know, a few months just to kind of realize and get a feel for what it was, right?
Yeah, Stephen's been phenomenal because he's able to read Edward and he's be able to study, and he's actually looked at even the time of the months and what month it is, and then he can almost predict when he's going to have a seizure or when he's going to have some kind of a behavior, where we would have never been able to see that pattern when he lived in the group home because there just wasn't that consistency of staff to be able to follow something like that through. And I think it speaks to Stephen's 24 years experience in the field as well. He's got all that expertise that he brings to his living arrangement with Edward, and to be able to read signs like that. And he's taught us things that we haven't known, you know, and he sees Edward, of course, in a completely different light than we do as his parents. And so that's opened up opportunities for Edward that he most likely wouldn't have been able to pursue if he was still living at home with us or if he was still living in the group home.
Glasses.